the 7th Saturday on the Gregorian 2021 on the Gregorian calendar. It is the 14th of Sha'aban, 1442 on the Hijri or the Muslim calendar. And that means we are only about 14 to 15 days from looking or sighting the moon of Ramadan. Ramadan is coming upon us, inshallah, so we will extend Ramadan Mubarak, inshallah, for the upcoming couple weeks. We look forward to it coming. We look forward to it leaving, and all of the blessings that it brings when it comes, and all of the blessings that it leaves when it leaves. Today, we have a very special segment, a part of our Cities Changing Diabetes and Faith and Diabetes Initiative Collaborative. We've been running a series of programs on my particular segment of the program. And if you don't know what Faith and Diabetes Initiative Collaborative is, it is Faith and Diabetes is designed to engage and address diabetes awareness, prevention, and management with special attention to religious beliefs and practice and community life. It grew out of the Cities Changing Diabetes and Innovative Challenge. 6 ideas of the 43 submissions came from 3 faith leaders, 2 physicians, and a businessman. Since those submissions all had a faith-based foundation, the challenge oversight team decided to unite the ideas in the office and create a proposal centered on the formation of health cabinets. And this is very, very significant because diabetes is something that is plaguing our communities, in particular the African-American community, but all communities of color, all communities of European Americans, everyone in America, everyone in the world, but particularly in the American diet, we are really suffering the scourge of diabetes. But today, Living Islam is bringing insights into Black culture while maintaining our connection to the Islamic world around us through our common faith experiences in Philadelphia's Muslim community. On this program, we will discuss how African American women, because it is Women's History Month, are impacting the world with the Reverend Dr. Lorena Marshall Blake. She is president of Independence Blue Cross Foundation, which is a partner of the Innovation Cities Challenge, and is associate pastor of Vine Memorial Baptist Church. She is also a cancer survivor and someone who is very much at the forefront of the health care for our people and our community. She is also a member of the illustrious Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which happens to be the same fraternity that our vice president is a member of as well, and she pledged at the Alpha chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority at Howard University. Without further ado, Dr. Marshall Blake, good evening. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. It's good to hear your voice. I'm so sorry we couldn't Skype you in.
That's okay. Look, I just wanted to make sure that I was able to get on.
Okay. Well,
great.
We're glad to have you. We know that you're such a great faith leader, but also as a president at Independence Blue Cross, you are on the forefront in the medical world or in the insurance world to help our people combat the more what they call them comorbid diseases that are affecting us, particularly diabetes, but also within the context, we're going to talk a little bit about COVID-19 and what you are doing to help our people with that, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Right. Okay.
So let me put forward my first question to you.
Absolutely.
And as an African-American spiritual leader, why is addressing the health of our people important, regardless of the denomination or the particular religious expression that people have chosen?
Right. Okay, let me say this. And you're absolutely correct when you say regardless of the denomination, because what's important is that the information gets to especially Black and brown people, and that our people get not just information, are trusted messengers. And they didn't just wake up there, regardless of what the faith tradition. They have been consistently consistent in being before the people and being there to help the people. And again, it's not just that during a pandemic. They've always been there. So that's one of the things that I just think is so important, because they're sort of the go-to when you need something done. They are there. Their whole mantra is, my mantra is, I will always serve. They are about service, again, to all mankind. It doesn't matter, again, what your faith tradition is. And again, making sure that our people are healthy. And that if you look good, you feel good, but that just doesn't happen by accident. You mentioned it earlier, and when we even look at the diabetes and other things, it's about eating. It's eating well and eating nutritional food. It's about exercise. It's about getting rest. It's about self-care. I think if nothing else during this pandemic, it has just sort of all thrown us into a tailspin, but there really are some things that we can do to stay healthy and to be able to move through this and get on the other side of it. Does that help you?
That definitely helps me. I really enjoyed your answer. I think that people can get something from that, because it is nutritionally based. And even as COVID ravaged our communities, it ravaged our community, or we were more susceptible to the disease because of comorbidities, particularly heart disease, diabetes, and high blood pressure, which are also coming on or as a result of poor nutrition, right?
Exactly. And when you talk about, again, the comorbidities, we have to find a way to get in front of those comorbidities, okay? When you talk about heart disease, that all goes back again to what you are, what you eat, okay? When you talk about high blood pressure, again, you are what you eat, all right? Again, when you talk about diabetes, you are what you eat. A lot of it comes back to that, but it's not just that. I think you have some environmental situations that go on all around it. When we look at our housing, again, we tend to be multi-generational families. So again, and look, my mama back in the day would cook with salt pork and all that other stuff, but we've got to get away from that. I mean, you use turkey, okay? Use vegetables. You don't have to be a vegan, but vegetables are good for you. All right. So again, find a way to change the diet. And if you like tofu, I mean, people they do all the different things today. But again, you gotta eat healthy, because what you put, it's like investing. Whatever you put inside of you is going to affect you. You gotta drink plenty of water. I don't do soda, and I do that on purpose, because water, the majority of our body is water, so we've got to keep refilling it so we don't get dehydrated. So again, and I'm going to say, it's not smoke and mirrors, and it's not magic. It's just basic stuff. Just basic stuff.
Now, a lot of the in the media, particularly as it addresses or talks about COVID and even perhaps diabetes, that medical companies, insurance companies are not concentrating on communities of color. In your role as president, how do you combat that, and how do you combat the appearance of it?
Okay, let me tell you how to combat it. I always say that I am boots on the ground, and most people know me. I'm from West Philly, so I'm from the community. And so, therefore, everything that I do with the Independence Blue Cross Foundation, I'm going to speak for but one person can make a difference. I work with 50 health centers throughout the region, throughout Philadelphia, Montgomery, Bucks, Delaware, Chester, and Philadelphia County, and especially serving the underserved and those who are counted out and nobody thinks that they need, because they're poor, they don't need to be healthy. No, that's not the way the foundation works. It's important. If we either get you on the front end or we will get you on the back end. So it's important to get you healthy and your children healthy up front. So there are those 60 health centers that are federally qualified. They're smaller health centers, but we are through, and I work intimately with those health centers. So I know what they're doing, and in funding them, we give them unrestricted dollars so that they can do the things that they needed to do. As a matter of fact, during the COVID, we put extra money on the street to the health centers and others in an effort to kind of, CDC came out with guidelines, but didn't come out with any money for what they needed to do. So again, making sure that health centers stayed open. Again, working with the centers with regard to telehealth, all right? Making sure that if we look at our seniors, that there was transportation there to get them to where to get to their appointment. So again, it's not just talking the talk, it's walking it. You got to be there. You have to, I call it the presence of your presence. So in other words, you've got to be present, and you've got to be out there to know what's going on. You can't sit in an ivory tower and think you know. You've got to be boots on the ground. I mean, as recent as, not yesterday, Thursday, they just opened, it's going to be PHMC at Cedar, where the old Misericordia Hospital was, where they're creating a whole complex that's going to be working, and it's working with the community. So if you're even making decisions, you got to make sure that you include the community so they have a voice. You don't dictate to them, you partner with them in an effort to help their outcome.
That's excellent. So do you feel the collaboration of our people is critical to our survival and advancement as a people, regardless of religious affiliation?
Absolutely. Because when you get diabetes, and I get diabetes, or have high blood, and I have high blood pressure and get high blood pressure, they're not asking me what is my denomination, okay? They're asking, what, in other words, what are my health outcomes? What do I do during the day? What do I eat, okay? Do I do a lot of fast food, okay? Am I reading the labels to see what's inside food? I think we need to do that. You need to look at that label. How much salt, how much sodium is in there? How much sugar is in there? How much fat is in there? Okay, so again, that's so important that you educate yourself, because, nobody, I said, you've got to be the chief executive officer of your life, okay? Nobody takes better
I like
care
that.
of you, okay? You got to be the CEO of the arena, okay?
So are you doing any work with the Black Doctors COVID Coalition?
Oh, I'm so excited to talk about them. When they first got started last year at the beginning of the pandemic, when Dr. Ayla Stanford came to me, we were probably the first to fund the Black Doctors COVID Consortium. And I'm pleased to say that as of today, we are close to $500,000 in supporting the Black COVID doctors. And I've been over there volunteering, again, making sure that people get the opportunity. And I think that people keep saying, well, people are hesitant about getting the vaccine. No, we need to put that aside. The Black COVID doctors, they're doing everything they can do. Even at Independence Blue Cross right now, in our Independence Live, we're doing vaccines. So, but like the Black COVID doctors, they're boots on the ground. They're Deliverance. They've been at Christian Stronghold. They've been at Bethlehem Baptist Church. They've been at Leah Corus Center. So again, their main aim is to vaccinate Black and brown people. But see, the important thing is that, hey, we got to go get it. We've got to come out and get the vaccine. I've gotten both my shots, okay? So again, and the more that we're vaccinated, then at some point, hopefully, things will open up some. But in the meantime, we still have to make sure that we wash our hands, that we wear our masks, and we still social distance. But like I said, Black COVID doctors, and there's another group that's out there that's called CAPE, Community Access Testing Experience, and they're in the Latino community. So again, we support them too. So we're funding them and working with our state reps in all the different districts. Matter of fact, yesterday I was with State Rep Joanna McClinton up at 5737 Chester Avenue at the Salt and Light Church. So there's so it's the church again. The church, I believe, is a key partner in what we do, because I think it goes back to they have a voice, and they've been consistent with their concerns for their people.
Now, I do know that several Muslim leaders, imams, and amirs have expressed a desire to be a host site for vaccination. I know Masjid Allah up in the West Oak Lane, Mount Airy section of Philadelphia, and the Philadelphia Masjid, Sister Clara Muhammad School, has also expressed a desire to host a vaccination site. And Dr. Stanford, from what I understand, has some interest in being located. What can you do? What can you help us do to make sure to see that come about?
I speak to her regularly, so I can reach out to her after this call, and because I thought she had done one up on Limekiln Pike, but I didn't. I did. So none have been done. I think what they did at Masjid Allah is on Limekiln Pike, 7431 Limekiln Pike. Right. What they did there in the early day of COVID was test. And I know they ran several test programs there, but they haven't had a vaccination there. And I know that the leadership at there and at the leadership at Philadelphia National have both expressed some interest. And as I know, several imams in the city have said that they would like to see that. And it's even, I guess, bordering upon some level of frustration at this point if it will ever come about. Okay. Well, we'll tell you what, I'll make this commitment to, reach out to her, but also when I look at all the other churches, like Christian Compassion and others have been hosting vaccines, and doing vaccinations. So I got my 2 shots at Christian Stronghold. Took my mother there. She got her shots there as well. Right. But anybody that wants to get it, again, there's still, the city is still, I think they've lowered it to 65, I think. But again, if you've got comorbidities and you've got some major health challenges, the age is not that it's wavered, but it's looked at in a different way, Because when you're looking at obesity, you're looking at high blood pressure, you're looking at heart disease, you're looking at those challenges that folks, can get the shot. I think, again, you just have to let them know that is the case. But then I know when they were doing up with Leo Cora Center, they were just doing everybody. Because I know my best friend,
exactly.
Right, and her caretaker. See, and that's the other part. But folks who are taking care of other people, no matter what their age, they need to get the vaccine also. Because I think, again, when you start to look at frontline workers, a lot of our frontline workers happen to be women, and women of color. But again, they've got to also be vaccinated too. Because then when they leave, they go home. They're on public transport. You've got folks that do public transportation. You look at retail. You look at hospitality. You look at travel. That whole area of commerce has been hit hard, and the majority of the folks that are in it are women, and in many cases, women of color. You look at the nursing home. You got CNAs and all. So, again, it's important that they get the opportunity to get the vaccine. So if the opportunity presents itself, I suggest that people get it done. Get it done. And matter of fact, I put it on Facebook. I put it on my Twitter. I showed the picture of me getting the shot. So I'm not just saying go do it, and I haven't done it. I have done it.
And you talked a little bit about, and after this question, we're going to take a commercial break.
Sure.
But you've talked a little bit about other comorbidities, and one of the emphasis that the organization that you and I are both involved in, and that's diabetes, Cities Change Diabetes, is as a faith member, how has diabetes impacted your particular faith group, your particular church, Vine Baptist Church? Major.
Between diabetes and the other ones, the high blood pressure, and also breast cancer. So they are some of the, when you start to look at those comorbidities, it's almost like I cannot have a conversation with someone who is not diabetic or is pre-diabetic. Okay, so again, there you go. But again, it's black and brown people, and I think again it goes back to, see, if you've got diabetes, that can affect your heart. My mom had diabetes, so I know it can affect your heart. That's congestive heart failure. It can affect your eyesight. It can affect your limbs. Okay, it's almost, it can deteriorate all your kidneys, major bodily function. So again, that's why we're doing diabetes workshops, even through Zoom during the pandemic. Okay, still the important thing is getting the information out, and it's what information is communicate, almost to the point that it's ad nauseum, but that's okay, because they say if you say something at least 21 times, or at some point people will take it in, because diabetes will kill you. Okay, let me be clear, and will take your limbs and everything else.
It is a very pernicious disease. It is very so all-encompassing of so many different morbidities that when you die of diabetes, they generally say you died of complications of diabetes because it attacks so many different systems.
Exactly. It affects your whole bodily system. So, so that's why it's important that you are what you eat. I'm going to say that one more time. There was no sweets, okay?
I hear you.
You hear me?
And well, because I'm a diabetic in reverse. I'm reversal.
Okay.
I had diabetes. I managed to reverse my diabetes. I managed to get my A1C from a 14 to a 5, my daily glucose from a 300-400 to an 80 to a 90. And so I'm a big advocate on a low-carb diet because that's how I accomplish it. But
walk. You don't. I'm not saying you got to do the independent Broad Street run, but it's important to walk, to exercise too.
It is not just a one bullet solution. You know, I would, and I always said that, you know, think of your diabetic reversal as a tent with 5 poles, but the nutrition piece being the center pole. And then exercise, faith, you know, giving up stress or trying to leave off stress, and other things being the 4 surrounding poles. But what is most critical is, like you said, watching what you eat, but making sure you're aware. Many of our people are not aware that when they're diabetics, they just cannot consume sugar of any form. And sometimes that kind of confuses them because they're just not aware of what is sugar. And a lot of people don't know that bread is sugar, fruits are sugar.
You know, sugar is about everything. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And so can you tell us a little bit more about your role in Cities Changing Diabetes and the Collaborative?
Okay, well, I'm fairly new, but what I did do a presentation, and I talked to them, and when you look at Independence Blue Cross, it comes to diabetes being at the top of the list, and especially in working with community organizations, American Heart, American Diabetes, in other words, making sure, A, that the information gets out, doing workshops, also making sure that we have, there are our nursing staff, our coaches, and they will call to remind the people, A, about their appointments, to remind them, how are you feeling? What are you doing? Is there anything different that's occurring? So in other words, helping them stay up, I'm going to say, on top of their health care, their health coaches, okay? And in many cases, they're nurses. And we know that probably the most trusted people today are nurses, okay? Again, they're on the forefront. So again, it's helping people. It really is holding their hand, because lots of times people don't know. And again, if you're dealing with seniors, that may be the only phone call that they may get, but it's good to have someone call and say, hey, just checking in, how are you managing your diabetes? Well, and again, your next appointment is, can we work with you with whether it's Silver Sneakers, which is an exercise program? Can we work out a diet for you that works with you? And then more importantly, you're not able to cook it, we can partner with Manna or some of the other organizations to make sure the food that you get is nutritional and helps your diabetes as opposed to hurts your diabetes.
Excellent, excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got to take a station break.
Okay.
You're listening to Islam Today on WURD 900 AM, 96.1 FM, and WURDradio.com.
To develop and implement programs addressing food insecurity in collaboration with local community partners. Fundamentally, Muslim Serve strives to uplift those in our community by providing free, hot, nutritious meals. This is done by partnering with a variety of local community organizations and establishments with the goal to bring comfort to those in need and to relieve hunger in our area, no matter who they are. Veterans, students, people with disabilities, single parents, senior citizens, working class families, and children. Muslim Serve can be reached by phone at 833-486-4370 or by email at info@muslimserve.org. Learn more about Muslim Serve and what they do on their website, muslimserve.org, and on their social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Muslim Serve.
Khadija Alderman's Funeral Service Incorporated. Don't let your family bear the burden of your final arrangements. Pre-arrange now.
We specialize in janaza services, traditional Christian services, natural burials, and theme services.
We provide repasts, domestic and international shipping, webcasting, and Skyping.
We service all denominations.
Our new location, 1924 West Hunting Park Avenue, Philadelphia 19140, 215-225-6600. Visit us at www.khadijasfuneralservice.com. That's www.khadijasfuneralsvc.com.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Khadija Alderman's Funeral Service, serving humanity with dignity.
You're listening to Living Islam Today, an Ahmed Media Company project on WURD Radio, 900 AM and 96.1 FM.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Islam Today. I'm your host, Qasim Rashad, and you're listening to Living Islam Today, 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURDradio.com, and you can call us on a toll-free line at 866-361-0900. And today we're completing our living with diabetes section, the Cities Changing Diabetes and Faith Diabetes Innovation Collaborative. This has been, I think, our third installment for this particular program, and we're helping to create awareness about diabetes, but also how to reverse your diabetes through proper nutrition and through awareness and through other programs that are available through this magnificent. If you want to just Google it or go to Cities Changing Diabetes, install Cities Changing Diabetes in your Google search, and you'll come up with the Philadelphia Challenge. Today, our illustrious guest is the president of Independence Blue Cross Foundation and vice president of community affairs at Independence Blue Cross. And in keeping with our Faith in Diabetes Innovative Collaborative, our Dr. Lorena Marshall-Blake is our guest, but also it's Women's History Month. And Dr. Lorena Blake is also a cancer survivor, a breast cancer survivor. She's involved in so many different aspects of healthcare through Blue Cross Blue Shield. I would like to bring her back onto the program with us and tell us a little bit about your journey with breast cancer and how you use your health network to overcome that.
Sure. I'll tell you that story. It happened back in, it happened back in 1993, okay? And what happened was, when it comes to getting your screenings, whether it's mammogram, OBGYN, again, it's important that you get those screenings, okay? And it was just a normal screening that I went in to get done, my normal checkup, all right? And, they said, we think we see something. And I said, well, gosh, it's just been a year, because I do it yearly. Long story short, I did have it was cancerous, okay? So they had to go in. They did a biopsy first. And I always remember, because I say, God, I pay so much attention to my health. I exercise. I do all those things I think I'm supposed to do. And so I went through this. I went through my, woe is me. And then I got over it. I said, hey, why not me? But to make a long story short, went in, ended up with, had to end up getting radiation. It was almost like a year process. But what came out of it, I really became an advocate for others with regard to breast cancer. The minute I would meet someone, my first thing out of my mouth, especially women, was, did you get your mammogram? And these are the reasons why it's important to get the mammogram. And African-American women, we tend to have, our breasts are dense. And, so there's also often a lot of calcium deposits that are there. So that's another reason why you need, and it just happens, it just is, that we have a tendency to have that. And I can say that I came out of it years, almost 15, 16 years later, and I'm doing fine. But my baby sister, matter of fact, it was this week on March 23rd that she succumbed to breast cancer. And it was, and it was all I could do to because I'm the natural fixer, but I could not fix that. I couldn't fix it, but I went through all of her treatments with her, and she survived for about 5 years. And so I said, great, you got across the finish line. A year later, it came back like a vengeance, and it metastasized her whole entire body. Within it wasn't even 2 months, 3 months, she was gone. So, that's why.
My condolences.
And know your body. Again, I talk about women, when you're in the shower, touch your breast and make sure that there aren't any new lumps or there's something that doesn't look right. That's why we need it. And I say not just for women. I say this because men can get breast cancer too. So it's important to know your body. And when your body's not functioning properly, hey, go to the doctor, okay? Last time I checked, I did not have MD behind my name, all right? So I said, well, let me go to the folks that know what's important. And the thing that makes me, I guess I just lament, so why is it when it comes, whether it's breast cancer and with African-American women or women of color, it's not that we have we outpace the white women, but what happens with us, we get there later, and our morbidity rate is higher because we don't get there soon enough. So there we are, the top of the list for breast cancer, the top of the list for heart disease. I'm tired. I don't mind being number one, but I don't want to be number one for heart disease, for high blood pressure, for breast cancer, for diabetes. Okay? So again, that's why I go all the way back. Why it's so important that you take care of yourself. That you again, just like when you get up every day, think about what you eat. Okay, think about what you put into your body. But when your body isn't feeling right or doing, you should go to the doctor. Okay.
Okay. Now you touched on a very, I guess, important but sensitive issue that women of color, people of color, seem to get disproportionate health care. And I remember a physician, a black woman physician, who was hospitalized with COVID, and she requested remdesivir, which was the same treatment that President Trump received that kind of got him out of the bad spot with COVID, and her doctor denied it, refused it. 2 weeks later, she was dead.
Right. And so, you know what? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to have you elaborate on that a little bit because you're in the medical health field, and you touched on it, how people of color don't get the proper health care, but also don't seek the medical attention. And perhaps it may be due to the fact that you know, we know we're going to be treated differently when we go into health facilities. So if you could talk about that a little bit.
But you know what? And we may be, but you have the right. Again, when I look at Independence Blue Cross and I think of our former CEO, healthcare is a right. Okay, it's not something that's casual or in other words, as a living human being, you have a right. Now, the situation with that doctor, which just blew my mind, I said, here is a doctor that was advocating for herself, and it's like they didn't hear her. So that's why I think it's important that you have advocates that or folks that can speak for you, even when they're not hearing you. And that's where your legislators come in. You know, that's where, you know, in the medical community, there was a piece that we just did yesterday where they were looking at the minority community and this whole issue of COVID and vaccines. And guess what? You've got to speak. You've got to step up. And if you can't, you get someone else who can speak up for you. And you know, they say the squeaky wheel, and I hate to say it, and you know what? You can't let up. You can't let up. When I look at what happened, the whole social justice movement, and it's not just a moment, it's a movement, and everything with George Floyd and everything. They protest. They went from you got to go from protest to policy and make sure whenever that policy is done that your community is represented in it and they are not left out. Okay, but you got to be you cannot. You know what? You don't let up. Even when you win a victory, fine, you did that. Now this needs to be done. It is it's not a sprint, but it's a journey that you have to keep. You know, you have to stay in front of your legislators. When the insurance company doesn't do it, you got to stay in front. That's why you have the insurance department in Harrisburg. So again, if you're not getting done what you need to get done, you need to take it to the next person. Okay, but you can't let up. You have to, even if you're just advocating for yourself or advocating for your community, especially when it comes to COVID testing. Just like you were just talking about, Lorena, we need to get some vaccination, some vaccines at the mosque. So you said something to me about that. So I can't walk away from this and say, oh, that's a good idea. I need to then make some phone calls and see what I can do. But that you were advocating. You were looking out for your community, and that's what you have to do. You can't look. There's too much work to be done to just rest on our laurels. We just can't. And when you look at the rate that our community, with regard to COVID, was dying, I mean, we partnered with the Urban Affairs Coalition, Charmaine Matlock. And what we did was we created a whole campaign around Black and brown people and the importance of getting COVID testing, and we did it with the Black doctors, okay, and Kate, and making sure that you got tested. And I'm going to say this, even with vaccinations now, it's still important to get tested. Still important to get tested. They walk their park.
Let me ask you this. I mean, the Black Doctors Consortium, it's such a wonderful thing. They're doing such good work. But as you said, it's not for the moment, but it's for the movement.
Yeah,
do you think there's a movement of Black Doctor Consortium that's going to come out of this? Because once we get herd immunity and we pass the pandemic, what becomes of them?
Yeah, I see. Let me tell you what I see. Let me tell you what I see. Coming out of this, there is a whole new lens or view looking at health equity. Okay, and not just we talk about diversity, inclusion, and equity. In other words, leveling the playing field. In other words, and especially if you're Black and brown people, you have the right. We have to get away from what I call white privilege, okay? You have the right to have proper health care. You have the right to have proper housing, okay? You have a right to make more than $7.57 to take care of your family, okay? You have a right. We're human beings. Human beings. You have a right.
Minimum wage is slavery.
Right. And you know what? And what's so important when you look at what the what Republican Party is doing right now with regard to voter suppression. I mean, when I heard where the governor in Georgia signed a bill that you couldn't give people water, you couldn't give people food, and they were closing the polls at 5 o'clock. And they're saying, oh, we're just trying to streamline. We cannot sit back and let that happen.
I did not understand that. If you're in line waiting to vote and it's 90 degrees and you're dehydrated and you're ready to pass out, it's illegal to help a person.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I always say I'm a mad woman, and that doesn't mean I'm crazy, okay? Making a difference. And you know what? We can make a difference. You know what? There's a wonderful book. One of my favorite books is called What Keeps Me Standing. And the book is by Dennis Kimbrough, and they're letters of inspiration and encouragement from African-American grandmothers, okay?
Okay.
One of my favorite letters, it says, surviving is easy. It's the living that's difficult. It's that day-to-day stuff. But you got to stay at it. You can't just say, oh, I won that battle. Wonderful. No. You have to continue to advocate. You have to continue to, and I'm not saying everybody's got to march, but you have to make, in an effort to change things today, you often have to change policies that have been in place forever, okay? Inequities that have been in place forever. In other words, especially in corporate, making sure that in the C-suite, you've got people of color that are sitting around the table. Because if you're not sitting around the table, then guess what? You're not counted, and you don't have a voice. So again, one of the things I try to make sure is I cannot save the world, but guess what? My voice is there. And I said, as long as I'm there, I'm going to do as much as I can for as many as I can while I can. And again, that's for African Americans. That's for black and brown little boys and girls. One of the things I love about Mom, he said, when just before she had introduced the president, he said, I may be the first, but I won't be the last. And I think that's what's important, that we have to inspire our children. We have to inspire our young adults. Yes, you may be the first, but you won't be the last, okay? So we've got to make
Pastor Marshall, I've got callers on the line that I just noticed.
Oh, you do?
And they want to talk to you.
Sure.
I don't know if Jake is still there. LeBake Jake, are you still there? My bad, brother.
No, it's good, man. I've been listening. You know, assalamu alaikum to you and to assalamu alaikum to my. I got to use a lot of names. Look, Sister Minister, President, Dr. Blake. Okay, did I get it right? Okay.
You got it. One of them at least.
Okay. Well, look, I just wanted to, I'm working with. I was just diagnosed with diabetes, but I'm working on that. But my question to Dr. Blake.
Yes,
what,
sir.
What would you advise a person to do that has, and I wanted to ask you, you answered that for me, is Blue Cross the same as Independent, Keystone?
That's us.
Okay.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
I know a person, happens to be a black woman, a Muslim, that qualified already and was approved for almost 24-hour home care services, and she's not getting anything. People are dropping the ball and passing the buck, right? What would you advise? And like you say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and everybody deserves health care, right?
You know what?
What would you do?
Let me ask you, and again, without giving any names or anything, I just dealt with a case this week that it was a young woman with regard to 24-hour care.
Yes.
And she had Keystone First.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's and that's still part of our network. But I just sent that directly to the president of Keystone First.
Okay. Well,
now, I don't know if that's the same one.
What would you advise
if you like, send
either
me
way,
what
would you advise a person in that position to do?
The name and everything, and I'll reach out to them and I'll get on it. Okay, but I just did one. It had to be maybe about 3 days ago.
Okay. All
and
right.
Well,
Qasim, if I could get you the information, you could get it to the doctor.
Doing it and they didn't.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to do that, Dr. Blake. I'll get Brother Qasim the information, and
he'll get it to me.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He'll get it to you. God willing, we say inshallah. Y'all say God willing, but same thing.
Yes.
And look, I'm listening to all of your information because I'm trying to turn this Titanic around because I've just been diagnosed with diabetes, and Qasim he been talking to us, so I'm trying to get the Titanic turned. And like you said, you said you are what you eat. But thank you, doctor.
Yeah. But you know what? But you can do it with diet. You can do it with exercise. You can do it with rest. The key is getting the right information and moving forward. And you know what? Rome wasn't built in a day. You do it. You can't. What I say, you can't eat an elephant all at one time. So you do it
one bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
Thank you. Peace be unto you.
Okay, LeVay Jake. Thank you. Now we also have another caller, Dr. Blake. We have Reverend Joe Williams on line 2. Are you still there, Brother Joe?
Yes, I am. I just want to commend the doctor. And Dr. Ashley Banner's a good friend of mine. I know you know her. You're doing a great work. Give out, but don't you give up. I want to wish all of you a blessed Holy Week coming up. We are going to be giving away free palms right in front of the church tomorrow morning at 12 noon. A lot of people can't make it to the church. All the churches are closed. We're closed, but we'll be outside the church if they want to come around that circle, the water lane circle. We have free palms. But we got to start to save each other because they're poisoning the water in Flint, Michigan. There's no telling what they're supposed to do against us. Nobody's going to save us from us but us.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you, Reverend Williams.
And thank you so much. God bless. Give out what you give up.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Joe Williams.
I know Reverend real well. Good.
Okay. So, there are a lot of studies that indicate and actually confirm and verify that faith is critical to healing, and that there have been a number of scientific studies that show people of faith, we call them believers, who pray to God, tend to heal and convalesce a lot better than atheists or people who don't pray.
Right.
So how do you feel that faith can be that, I guess, well, we're talking about the different poles, the 4 or 5 poles that uphold that cure for comorbidities. How do you feel that faith plays a role in that?
Major role. Major. As a matter of fact, I love acronyms, and one of my acronyms, whoever it is that you serve, and if I take faith, fully and intensely trusting Him. That's my acronym for faith. So again, it's when you talk about prayer changes things. Prayer settles you down. Prayer, whomever you are praying to, it has a way of calming your spirit. For the Christian faith, again, you've got the Holy Spirit that abides in each and every one of us. Okay, but faith really does. It centers you. Okay, and it's something. How do I put this? Something on the inside, and whatever's on the inside will come out on the outside. So, but again, it centers you. And for me, today I was on a call earlier where we were talking about, and faith, whatever your faith, you got to be disciplined. It goes back to, again, what you eat. In other words, what you pour inside of you, or what you read, what you pour inside of your mind, what you pour inside of your spirit makes a difference. So when COVID comes or when trouble comes, what is it? The storm is passing over. In other words, it did not come to stay, but it came to pass. And often those storms, those trials, those things that you go through make you stronger. And often what you go through is not for you. When we talk about being a blessing to someone else, oftentimes you go through it, just like me in breast cancer. I then became rabid, a real advocate for breast cancer. And, I could have said, and when I said, oh, why me? But why not me? And when people see you, it's like, well, he went through breast cancer. Yes, it's not a death sentence. So again, you become the example. And again, it's through our faith that I was able to go through it. It was through my faith, my communion with God. that I was able to just kind of say, okay, I don't understand this. There are those mysteries that we will never understand. However, I'm able to then, by reading the word, like you do the Quran, I'm reading the word, that it encourages you. And it points out in both that there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing. Mm-hmm. You know, every folks have been through what we're going through. And guess what? They made it through. And especially people of color. All right? They made it through. Yeah. And that's
like
why we need to hold together.
When we're in the hulls of those ships in the Middle Passage, coming from Africa to the Western Hemisphere, faith or our differences in religion, whether we were Christian, Yoruba, or Muslim, did not matter. What mattered to us is we could get to the top of that ship, take that ship over, and vanquish our conquerors and turn that ship around. That was what was most important. Well, and we would work out the differences when we hit dry land.
And they call what? Ubuntu, I am because you are. Our destinies, regardless of our faith traditions, are inextricably tied. As you succeed, I succeed. You live, I live. And
yes, ma'am.
That's where it's got to be. In other words, when they talk about how all boats rise together, we've got to be in this together, and that's the only way that we're going to be able to overcome the challenges that come before you. And guess what? We have to learn to embrace the challenges. Fine. This is our strategy. This is what we're going to do. But doggone it, we're going to do it together. We're going to do it together.
So we got to go. But I do want to give you an opportunity. If the audience wants to reach out and touch you, how can they do so? We're listening to Dr. Lorena Marshall Blake, President of Independent Blue Cross Foundation.
Right. Let me give you, I'll give you my cell, because that's how important I think it is. My cell is 215-913-7097. That's my cell. And then my email is Lorena, and that's LORINA .Marshall, MARSHALL at I like important, B like in boy, X like in xylophone.com.
Okay. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I wish we had more time, but we're getting the hook. We have to go. And so to our listening audience, we want to say thank you. To Dr. Lorena Marshall Blake, we want to say thank you for doing so much in the community for our people. Assalamu alaikum.
Allahu Akbar.